Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Clueless Dad. I'm here in the master bedroom of my house with my SUNVIK crib. And the reason for today's video is actually to talk about this crib. It's been a couple months since I put up my time-lapse assembly video, and the response has been really great. Thanks to everyone who left a comment, gave us a thumbs up, and asked questions. So one of the questions we got recently we thought deserved its own response video. So Alex actually asked, how does this crib lower? So as I mentioned in the assembly video, this crib actually has two levels. So this is the higher level right now, and then there's a lower level. And also this front piece can come off so that it can kind of be a walk-in bed for a toddler. But before I get into the details, let me first just give some quick feedback on the crib. First of all, this is what it looks like with the bumper installed. And we actually have the sheets and the pee pad here on the mattress. It's been about 3 months since my kid came back and actually started using it, and it's been pretty good, especially now that I can compare against the Sleepy crib by Stokke, which I also did an assembly video for, and we've used a little bit in our spare bedroom. And having the two in the same house actually is pretty good for side-by-side comparison, and I have to say, especially considering the low cost on this one, it has done quite well. Okay, so before we get started on lowering the crib, let's take the mattress and bumper out. Okay, and here we are. Let's talk about how to take this thing apart and lower it down. So basically the mattress just lays on top of this plank, and the plank is held in at the four corners by these pins which are connected by a bolt to the plank to keep it down. And the pin goes in a hole here on the back plate of the bed. The trick is there's one set of holes at this height, and then there's a second one down here. And so if you put the bed in the lower position, that's the height it'll be at. So my first reaction when I read Alex's question about the best way to lower the bed would be just to take the bolts out of the four corners, lift this entire middle mattress plank out, put it aside, lower the pins into the lower set of holes, put the plank back in, line up all the holes, and bolt them back down. And I totally think that'll work, but it's actually maybe not the best way to do it. And then I checked the instructions. So the way the instructions recommend is actually slightly different, and I think it's actually better, which is why I'll show it to you today in this video. So what they recommend is you just basically upend the entire crib, take one end piece off, and then just take the entire mattress plank, lift it up, put it back into the lower pins, and then screw the back plate on. And I think that's actually easier because this is actually not that heavy. So let's just do that right now, and I'll do it in time lapse just to show you really quick. So as you can see, it removes pretty easily, and it's just a matter of lining it up on the bottom. And it might be a little bit tricky, but let's see. So as you saw, it didn't actually take that long. It's just a little bit tricky because basically on this end piece, there's 6 things that you got to line up all at once. One pin for each side piece, and then there's also the pin in the bottom piece. And so you've got to kind of place it on here and then kind of jiggle it till they all end up lining up. Put it down so the pins are in, and then you got to put these bolts in. And so for these 4 bolts that are on this end piece, and they connect the end piece to these side pieces, these guys actually are secured in these kind of round nut things. And this is kind of common on IKEA. I don't even know what this is called. It's kind of a round plug with a threaded hole through the middle. And the bolt will screw through that and hold it in place and sort of pull itself in because this thing can't move once the thread is in there. I didn't actually screw these all the way in because I'm going to put the bed back to the way it was before. One other thing I noted in the original video is that these things are at an angle, and it's a little bit awkward. So they're basically bolted in here, but they go into the pin at kind of a, I don't know, a 30-degree angle. And so when you're putting this guy back in at the bottom, I ended up having to kind of use my toe to line it up while I was trying to hold everything together. Just keep that in mind. That's probably the trickiest part here. So this is what it looks like with the in a lowered position. Okay, so we've got it lowered, and now we've got the mattress back in, and you could get an idea of kind of the size and positioning here. As you can see, it's pretty deep, so it's basically like an arm length away So that's, well over 2 feet. So that's good if your kid is, 20, 25, 26 inches. This will be above his head, and until they get to the really climby stage, probably is good enough to keep him in. And by the time he can climb over this, then you're probably ready to just take this whole side off. But one of the concerns is, as a parent, until it gets to the point where you take this side off, you still got to keep lifting the kid over the top. And as the kid gets heavier and taller, that means you've got to lift him up higher, and you also have to carry a lot more weight. So already now, where my kid is only 6 months old, and he's only weighing about 18 pounds, we've actually got to the point where back strain is a real problem. My wife actually sort of strained her back from having to pick the kid up. So that's kind of one of the downsides of being a parent in general. I can't really blame this crib. And that's something you're just going to have to live with until the kid's older. So not too much you can do about it, except do back exercises and lift the right way. So I'll probably do a full follow-up review of the SUNDVIK crib sometime in the future. But while I'm on the subject and while we're talking about it, and I've got it here behind me, let me just give some quick impressions that we've had from the first 3 months of using it. Overall, really like the crib. Can't really complain, especially for the price. It gets the job done. If you watched my Sleepy crib review, I actually found that the design and build wasn't substantially better than this guy, but it literally cost like 10 times more. So, IKEA's done a pretty good job, and this isn't even the cheapest IKEA crib you can get. So for the money, I think this one does well. The bumper, I found, at least for our kid, he'll end up putting his foot up on there, and he can yank it and pull the Velcro off. So I'm actually considering just taking the whole bumper out because I don't know if it's really doing anything. Last but not least, one major difference between this guy and the Stokke Sleepy crib is the fact that there's space under here. And so as you can see, even in the lower position, you can store a decent amount of stuff under here. We've literally stored dozens and dozens of baby items that we sort of stockpiled or been gifted that we don't know what to do with. And rather than taking up space outside, we've found that we can actually shove a lot of it underneath here, especially when this is in the higher position. Diapers, baby wipes, extra clothes. We actually kept the disassembled high chair under here for the first 2 months because we didn't need it and don't want to take up space. So until we actually needed it, I just didn't assemble it yet, and I just kept it under here. So that's one of those things that they don't advertise, but it actually is totally useful. If you look at the Stokke Sleepy crib, the slats go all the way down to the ground, and there's no way of getting stuff underneath there, and so there's actually a huge amount of wasted space, to the point where you can actually see dust bunnies just sitting there developing under the bed, and all that space going to waste. And the only way to actually put anything under there is either disassemble the crib and stick things in through the top, or basically put things on the floor and then lift the whole crib up and kind of drop it on top and hope that it all lines up. But you can't actually get at anything in there, so you'll have to basically lift your crib up and down every time you want to reach anything in there. So if something's in the back, it's not super convenient because we have it against the wall, but either way, this is actually useful, and in some other cribs like the Stokke Sleepy, not so much. So this was supposed to be a short video just to show you how to lower the crib, but I kind of went on. Hope you guys don't mind so much. If you have any more questions or you want to see more follow-ups on specific products that I've already reviewed, please leave a comment. When I started this channel a couple months ago, I didn't really expect too many people to follow me, but it's great to see that I'm actually getting subscribers, getting comments, getting feedback, and I really appreciate it all. Anything you need to know, any questions you have, just leave a comment below and I'll try my best to answer it. I've actually learned a lot from the comments given by other parents, so I really appreciate that. One other interesting thing that's happened is I've actually had other people that I know recognize me from this video, which is actually pretty funny. So that actually happened last week, and it was a little embarrassing because I haven't really told my friends that I'm a daddy YouTuber now, but people are finding out, and it's great that they've been so supportive as well. So anyway, thanks for everyone's support, and see you next time on the Clueless Dad. Okay, so that's the Takara Tomy one-way baby monitor with night lamp and with this cool visual volume